Hey, and welcome to another video. In today's video, I wanted to share some tips about how to navigate the dark night of the soul. You know, one of my longest, most painful dark nights of the soul was for over 10 years. And I don't want you to basically get stuck like I did and to make it more painful than it needs to be. So I just wanted to share some things that I've learned, and hopefully that'll help you out. So one of the first tips is to not try to fix yourself immediately. When I went into this dark night of the soul, I kind of basically went into it blind, and so I had no idea, what to look out for and what to expect. So I thought that, the best bet was to heal myself as fast as I can and to try to get to the other side and to get over it. I basically realized after that it was just a way for me to avoid this phase in my life, this kind of, period. And so I thought that I had to meditate more, I had to read more, I had to try to figure out how to get over this as fast as I can, instead of just basically learning to surrender to it and to kind of accept the process for what it had to, what I had to go through. So I was trying to force myself to do more, figure out an answer and stuff like that, but it really wasn't helping. It did nothing for me other than causing me more pain, more suffering, because like I said, I didn't accept what I was kind of going through. And so I was just trying to find a quick fix for it. But really, the inner resistance that happens that I was going through at that stage just created more pain, and it made it more challenging. So don't try to fix yourself. Don't try to, at least not so fast, just try to be in the moment of it all and to kind of experience the experience fully. So the next tip is to simplify your life as much as possible, because when you go into this phase of the dark night of the soul, it's going to be chaotic inside of you. Your inner world's going to be just collapsing and you're going to be going through this inner chaos. So it's best to simplify your life and to kind of focus on the basics, right? When I was going through my 10-year dark night of the soul, the last 4 years of it, I went into a deep state of depression. I basically was to the point that I was almost not functional. I had a really hard time, taking care of the day-to-day responsibilities even. And so focusing on the basics at the time for me was very hard. It was very challenging, but that was kind of the minimum that I could try to focus on, that if I was able to do certain tasks or take care of certain responsibilities, that was a win for me. So not everyone will go through a deep state of depression or anything like that, not to scare you, but sometimes it can happen. So if you could just focus on the basics, basically just focusing on sleeping well, eating properly, surrounding yourself with safe people. If you can only have one supportive person, even if they can't really understand what you're going through, at least if it's someone that you trust and you can be around to kind of be your support, that would be really good. And if you are able to or have access to therapy, can help. I didn't have therapy. I kind of went in blind and just did all of this just on my own, not knowing what the hell was going on. But so it's not necessary, but if you do have access to it, that could be useful for you. So the third tip would be to let yourself question things and to allow yourself the space to reflect on them, because this is going to be a time where a lot of questions for you will probably naturally come up, and you will start to reflect on how things have been in the past and how you've been, how scenarios played out, what was, all this stuff. And so it's a time to reflect and to kind of allow yourself to ask the questions that you might have been afraid to ask before, and just know that you don't need to know the answer right away. You don't need to have come to conclusions about things, and you don't need to do anything about it either. Just coming to some sort of understanding would help you. Bringing awareness to a certain belief or program definitely helps. And so when you allow yourself the space to kind of question things and reflect on it, you'll find yourself naturally kind of starting to let go of old belief systems, old programs that no longer work for you. That's kind of one of the big transitional things that happens during a dark night of the soul. So the last tip is to process your emotions, but at your own pace. So a lot of what happens during the dark night of the soul is a lot of inner changes are going on, and a lot of emotions, a lot of negative emotions especially, will start to come up. And because the dark night of the soul is also known as an ego death, you are shedding a layer of the ego of what no longer works for you anymore. So you want to make sure that you do your internal work around this, because the dark night of the soul is when a lot of, old negative emotions come up, and you're going to need to process them, because the reason why they're coming up is because you never processed them before. And so this is kind of like the time to do it, but obviously do it in a safe environment. You want to do it at your own pace, and it'll just take time to kind of go through and process. So it is just basically feeling your feelings fully and to be with it, and not trying to change it, not trying to, avoid it or anything like that. But like I said, do it at your own pace and do it when the context is right. You basically just have to walk through the fire yourself. It's challenging, but it will be worth it when you get to the other side. So imagine you go to your favorite cafe and you get yourself your favorite cookie. They put it in a paper bag for you to take home, and when you get home, you enjoy your cookie and you throw away the paper bag. I guess when you throw away your paper bag, you're going to eventually have to take out the garbage rather than hoarding it in your home, right? That's just the process that you go through. And it's the same thing with these emotions, these old negative emotions that you no longer have any use for now that you become aware of it, now that you realize that they no longer work for you in your life and they're holding you back. You need to take out the garbage instead of hoarding them, and you need to make space for new things to come into your life. And it may be challenging during this phase that, it might feel like the negative emotions are never ending, but it definitely does. It definitely lessens, and it's definitely going to become more easy to process over time, and especially with more practice. So being in the dark night of the soul for over 10 years, going in not knowing what I was doing and making all these mistakes and making it more challenging than it needed to be, I hope that these tips that I've shared with you that I've learned after the fact helps you to kind of ease a lot of the burden and, help you gain some sort of peace of mind through this challenging journey. It's really something that is difficult to go through, but when you get to the other side, it'll be worth the effort. And so I wish you good luck on your journey, and I will see you next time. Thank you so much for watching.